So I was busy being a passenger princess over the weekend, because of course I was. And then we pulled up to a red light, and that's when I heard it. If you don't accept Jesus Christ into your heart, you'll burn in hell for eternity. This man standing on a corner with a megaphone, screaming about burning souls and finding Jesus. He was so angry, like he was trying to scare heaven into people. And the longer I listened, the more I realized it wasn't about love. This was about control. And I started thinking about Christianity, not every believer, but the institution. It built its whole foundation on that, on fear. This obsession with saving people that never asked to be saved. So when Christianity started, it was all about survival, hope for people that were living under oppression. But the moment Rome adopted it, everything changed. Faith got baptized in power. And when power puts on a robe, it starts calling conquest holy. They said spread the gospel, but what they really meant was spread us. It wasn't about God anymore. This was all about empire. And once the empire realized that you could rule people through fear, not just force, saving souls became a business model. And over time, that power split itself into pieces. You've got your Catholics, your Protestants, Baptists, Evangelicals, each claiming that they had the only path to truth. But those arguments weren't about faith. They were about control. Every denomination was just another hierarchy with a new costume. And the wildest part? Most Christians still pick and choose what parts of the Bible to follow. They'll preach love thy neighbor, unless that neighbor is poor, Muslim, queer, trans, or anything else that doesn't align with what they believe. They'll quote judge not right before condemning you. They'll excuse their own sins as human weakness, but call someone else's humanity an abomination. And if you think that hypocrisy is new, it's not. For centuries, some of the worst evils on earth were justified by people holding the Bible. They used God to defend slavery, said Africans were cursed descendants of Ham. They used God to erase indigenous nations, called genocide manifest destiny. They used God to colonize continents, burn women as witches, and silence the victims of the church's own abuse. They used God to enforce segregation, to sterilize Black and brown women, to torture kids in conversion camps, to strip women of bodily autonomy, to invade nations and call it a divine mission. Every time, y'all, it is the same script. Violence disguised as virtue, oppression wrapped in scripture, and anyone who questioned it, blasphemy. Because that's the thing about blasphemy, right? It was never about protecting God. It was about protecting power. Jesus questioned religious leaders and they called him a blasphemer, then killed him for it, and then built churches in his name. Jeez. So when people today say, hold on now, don't question the church, I think about all the things that were justified by people who said the same exact thing. And I can't help but wonder how many times has silence been mistaken for faith. Now, it's not inquisitions or crusades. It's subtler, cleaner, but the spirit is still the same. Is megachurch pastors in designer suits preaching humility? Is politicians quoting scripture to take rights away? Is people showing up at Pride with signs about hell, but not one with a message about love? Is folks who claim to follow Jesus, but can't seem to follow his example? Because he didn't build churches, he built communities. He didn't use threats, he used compassion. He didn't convert people through fear. He met them where they were. And if hearing all that makes you uncomfortable, good. Because discomfort is how the truth starts to work on you. This isn't about your grandma's faith or your favorite gospel song. This is about the institution that used the name of God to colonize, enslave, and control. And still calls that righteousness. If your faith can excuse your violence but not someone else's existence, that's not religion, that is hypocrisy. If your God can't handle questions, that's not faith, that's fear. And if your version of Christianity needs an enemy to survive, then maybe it isn't God you're serving, maybe it's empire. Remember, Mom, you love me. So yeah, that man on the corner with his microphone, he wasn't just yelling about Jesus. He was echoing centuries of control, fear, and moral superiority. Because Christianity didn't conquer the world through love. It conquered it through justification. And what's really interesting is that somewhere underneath all of that, there's a message that's worth hearing. But it got buried under empire and renamed as salvation.